Welcome to Peekapod, a show which inspires the young mind to think beyond the obvious. This show is specifically for the women of the country. The global women health market is substantially growing and is projected to reach at $68 billion by 2030. But where does India stand in this? We are still at a very succession rate where we are trying to achieve and grow and making women understand that actually health is not a luxury. And in the same domain, we have Kashika with us, who stands as a strong pillar in the industry and is trying to make that change. Hi, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Can you just quickly introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kashika. I'm the founder of Yogini. I'm 23 years old and I started Yogini to be a women wellness platform.
I was reading about you, and I saw that you started pretty young with the community service. And these kind of services specifically evolve when you have the right values at the early age on life. What are those values which you think have actually conspired so that you can come here and start your own journey now?
For me, service has always been about care. I've always been a people person, being around family, being around my friends, and seeing that I could be that one person for people was something that inspired me to do that. So I remember when I was a little kid, my nanny used to take me to a girls' care home for my birthday every year. So I think that's where that feeling of belongingness came. And since then, I volunteered with NGOs and now started Yogini to actually be able to make a safe space for women. I think for me, the sense of care was always so important. I've been a big people person. I've always been around family. I remember when I was a little kid, my nanny used to take me on my birthdays to a girls' care home, and it gave me a sense of belonging and happiness. So the idea that I could be that sense of belonging for someone always made me really happy because I needed that a lot of times in my life, and there were people who were there for me. So I think that's how it started over time, and then I started volunteering at an NGO where I used to teach basic English, basic math, and I came across female daily wage laborers. And this is when I realized that the sari and the salwar kameez that female daily wage laborers usually wear don't have pockets in them. This means that these women don't have space to store like loose change or keys or even their phones. And ultimately, it did really make them more vulnerable, especially in the surroundings that they were working, for example. And through my interactions with them, I realized that they never saw it as a problem. They did face problems because of it when they had their phone in their hand or something, but they never saw that the lack of pockets is actually a gender issue by the end of it. So that is when I became more interested into female equality and female issues that we face. I wrote a research paper about female entrepreneurship in India and how it's growing. And over time, I think when I studied abroad, I studied at St. Andrews, where I studied sustainable development and business management. That's when I kind of got into the wellness space. And after I came back, I started working on Yogini. So I think for me, women wellness is a major aspect of it, especially considering we do make up half of the population, but the solutions that we have really don't give justice to that. So I think that's when I got into it and I did my research, tried to find products, tried to find the information that our audience has available, and seeing a little gap in the market, that's how Yogini started.
Perfect. I think these kind of values and specifically which you learn from family helps you grow as well in life. And I think you have done pretty well when we talk about your initiatives. You have Yogini, you have RAM workshops, you have Trust Me. So what actually made you think that, okay, this is the impact that I want to actually bring in the society? And why did you specifically thought, and when did you actually thought that, okay, this is where I want to lead on my life to? And because when we were discussing earlier, you mentioned that you moved from abroad to India. So I think that's a very big change as a person as well. So what do you think made you change that, conspire onto that, so that you can take a leap of faith and actually do something like initiatives like these?
So, to go from the beginning, I started RAMP when I was just doing small English math lessons during my summer holidays, I think in eighth grade. And this is when I interacted with daily wage female laborers. And something you would notice was that the Indian traditional sari and salwar kameez don't have pockets in them. So these women are less safe, more vulnerable actually, because they don't have space to store their phone, loose change, keys, things like that. And when I interacted with them, I realized that this is a problem they face, but they've never realized it's actually a problem. So that's when we made the Ramps fanny bag. So like women could just wear it around their waist. So I think that's when I realized that women wellness and women issues are sometimes underestimated in a lot of situations. And to be very honest, I moved back to India because my parents had come back and I listened. But now when I think about it, I think it was one of the best ideas I could have made. I needed that calm and clarity, which I could only find at home, since I mentioned I'm such a people person. And I think with India, with the growing opportunities that we have, especially in the entrepreneurship space, I think this was one of the best decisions I could have made.
Perfect. Um, when we talk about women wellness, I think women do not take or prioritize their health as well. What do you think is one of the biggest challenges that you see today in the women wellness space, from both physical as well as mental health, that we talk about? And what do you think needs to be changed in the wellness spectrum largely? Like you mentioned, fashion. We had in the previous podcast, we had someone who was actually into women fashion, and she mentioned how she started building that up, how she started including the clothing which actually talks about women, right? Because how do you think the spectrum towards the women is also changing?
So, in terms of the wellness space, I would say that the biggest issue is that wellness is seen as a luxury, it's seen as a reward, it's seen as expensive. I think, in all honesty, for a lot of brands, it's a marketing gimmick that self care is being sold to customers instead of realizing that the feelings of emotional safety, the feelings of community, the accessibility of it is almost gone now because it's all that companies are using to market themselves. So I think wellness, people need to realize that it's something very personal, especially women, that it's not a reward to something, it's something that covers all spectrums of your life. So for me, like I mentioned, it was the sense of care and belonging. So every summer from 8th grade, I used to work with an NGO. So I used to go to one of their homes and I used to play around, dance with the children there. We used to do a little bit of studying, a little bit of dancing. And I had recently started reading about sustainability then and the environment. So we used to do little sessions on environment sustainability with these little kids. And at the end of the session, they were asked to draw what they understood. So then we printed those on t-shirts and sold them to raise funds for the kids' education, actually. So I think that's how it all started. And I enjoyed the feeling of actually being able to spend time with these kids and being able to share knowledge. And I feel like there's so much to learn from them as well. And when I started Ramp and I was registering it and things like that, I realized that the there are a lot of complications with it. I was lucky enough to have parents who supported me through it, through all the legal paperwork and all. But a lot of entrepreneurs who want to start something or who have that idea are not able to do that because of the lack of resources. So that's when I created Trust Me. We worked with 20 entrepreneurs, helped them connect with lawyers to actually get their legal paperwork sorted. We even worked with a few NGOs who wanted to be registered but had to show like specific paperwork or specific impact to be able to be registered. So that was a very exciting process. I think that's what shaped me to have different pillars of Yogini as well and realize the holistic aspect that entrepreneurship needs.
Right. And I think a lot of women take wellness as a part of their luxury rather than just, a self care routine. How do you think that challenge is being probed in India, and how are women actually changing that landscape and perspective now?
I think a big part of it is rooted into balance. I feel like when men take rest, it's very that they need the rest. They have corporate jobs, they have businesses, and it's seen as like their downtime.
Right.
And when women do it, it's like, oh, they have other responsibilities. If they're working, they can't take rest.
Right.
So I think women are now actually being vocal about their needs, being more self aware, I think is the first step that they need the rest. And I think a big part of it for me as a founder has also been to allow myself to take rest and not see wellness as a luxury. So I do think it's a hard thing to do. So I'm not going to be preachy. I think I'm also far from it. I do have my days where I'm like, oh, I have so much work, I have this priority, when my body is actually crying for help.
Right.
So I do think it's a long road, but I think it all starts with self-acceptance. So I do think there has been a great, great change, even in the past 5 years, I would say. So I'm someone who studied sustainable development at university. So I do see a big change in companies in India as well, being more transparent, even about like carbon emissions or the impact on the environment. So I do see that coming in with the health industry as well, especially if you see in terms of makeup and skincare, when we talk about like animal testing and things like that. I feel like there is more awareness. And I hope with time there will be more accountability as well.
Right. And what do you think is one step that women should actually start taking in their wellness journey, both physically and mentally?
I think, in all honesty, it's very different for every woman. The way I see wellness will not be the way you see wellness.
Definitely.
For someone, wellness might be 8 hours of sleep, while some for wellness, someone might be getting 5 days workout in. So I think it's very personal, and I think it's realizing over time what works for your body instead of following like Instagram reels or like trends, and actually making wellness a routine that's suited for you.
And what do you think is one thing that made you actually sit down and think that, okay, this is something that I want to work in, specifically catering to women? Why did that idea come up from?
So, in all honesty, I'm someone who struggled with my wellness when I was abroad. I moved back and I realized that a lot of us have adopted Western methods of wellness or skincare or healthcare without realizing that Indian body is very different. Your genetics are different. So, what works for your body is ultimately obviously going to be different. So, that is something I struggled with. And I realized that while there are a lot of great small brands that actually do this, they don't have the marketing budgets or they don't have the teams to be able to go and be visible. So that's why I wanted Yogini to be a transparent, accountable one-stop all for women where they can find products across all categories. So we talk about mind, we talk about nutrition, we talk about fitness.
And what do you think has been your personal approach in this starting this initiative? Because you mentioned that, you have struggled with it yourself when you were abroad. How do you think that change of mindset have come in for you?
I think the biggest part about wellness is having to enjoy it. If someone's telling you that, oh, take care of your health, you're going to run away from it like everything else in life. So, if, for example, like my mom is telling me go to the gym, I will not want to go to the gym. So, I think a big part of me was actually doing like taking tiny little steps towards it until it becomes a habit for me and I start enjoying the process itself.
Understand. Okay. And if we think and talk about, probably 5 years down the lane, how do you think the wellness industry for women will transform? And what do you think, what would be the role of Yogini in this and your specific bigger role in this?
So, if someone thinks about Yogini in the next 5 to 7 years, I would want them for it to be like a one-stop all for women wellness where someone feels like community, like it makes them happy. And whether they're age 16 or 60, I want Yogini to have something for women of every age group. And overall, the wellness industry is rapidly growing, especially for women. I feel like there's so much more awareness across the globe, even in India now, about women-centric issues like PCOS, PCOD. Now we're actually talking about these issues, finding solutions to them. And there's I wouldn't say no, but lesser stigma around these problems. So I do see it becoming a safer space for women. And I do hope that Yogini contributes to that.
And do you think that this stigma, I feel, is so much more prevalent now? We're starting to talk about it in the urban sectors. But do you think the tier 2 market is also evolving at the same rate? And are they also prioritizing women's health in the same domain? And
For sure. I think India, tier 2 cities are one of the fastest growing cities in the world. I see there's so much scope. I feel like with the rise of social media and the internet, I feel like tier 2 cities are also almost as informed as tier 1. Like you would see someone from Lucknow or Agra react the same way as you would see someone from Delhi and Bangalore. But I do think, of course, accessibility is one of the issues. And as Yogini, we do want to work on that. So one of the interesting things that we've done is that our website is, you can translate it fully to about 20 regional languages, because our idea is to make wellness more accessible which is, I think, one of the biggest limiting factors of the wellness industry in India right now.
But do you think just being available there would make the difference rather than more of imparting the knowledge or, actually provoking the woman to start taking their own hair? I mean, I understand where you're coming from. People at the end of the day would have to go somewhere to make that change. But that mindset shift needs to happen first, right? How do you think that will progress out?
Of course. So with Yogini, we actually have three parts to what we do. One is the Yogini marketplace, like I've been talking about. Second is called Yogini Read. So, for example, if someone goes to our website, there's a shop section and there's a read section. So, with the read section, we've actually collaborated with gynecologists, nutritionists, dermatologists, and actually have solutions or description of problems that women might face. It covers everything from like skincare to love relationships to anything someone might phase from the age of 16 to 60, like I mentioned. So I think the idea behind it is to give the information. And then we have another aspect, which is called Yogini Saheli. So we've done about 4 sessions so far. This is when we work with NGOs, and Saheli literally means dost, friend, right? So the idea behind it is to create safe circles for women so they can actually talk about things, learn about things. So our idea is to be able to have these Yogini circles all over India, not just at NGOs, but make them regular sessions where we get to interact with our community face to face.
Understood. Okay. And when we talk about the NGO collaborations, and specifically a lot of NGOs are opening up when we talk from the spectrum of increasing the women awareness. So there are a lot of NGOs doing the good work, right? How do you think that has actually helped Yogini also grow?
I think it, for first reason, I think would be it actually gives me a little bit push that, oh, okay, I'm not being a little crazy. Everyone sees the problem.
Right.
And of course, it's nice to be able to give that impact on a much larger scale because there are so many NGOs. So the idea behind it is that if there's so many people working towards the same cause, of course, the impact will be greater.
Right. And why did you actually start with it? I mean, there are a lot of wellness platforms which are available. There are a lot of e-commerce platforms which are available. Did you ever feel that, okay, the competition is taking a toll on me or probably, discouraging me from doing what I am doing today?
I mean, naturally, I think the biggest part of it was that we're a marketplace. So, for example, we're approaching an already established brand who's already on the other e-commerce marketplaces. It would be okay, like, why should we onboard on another marketplace? So I think that was one of the issues we faced. That was something that was like, okay, like, how do we get over this obstacle? But I think a big part of it is that our identity is so well focused on being a woman wellness platform and being a community more than that, that we were able to overcome that and actually be able to express ideas better to the brands.
And what do you think when we talk from the woman wellness perspective, how has that shifted uh from largely in next, like, from 5 years down the lane? How has women actually started to take care of their wellness a lot more?
I think it comes from small changes. I feel like, for example, like our mothers and grandmothers, if you see, for them, wellness was getting 8 hours of sleep. Like my mom would say that, oh, like whatever we are having at home is enough protein. She would be against protein powder all the time. So I think it's just little things that have come over with us talking more about it, more scientific research being held on a global level with it, and more awareness in general. I think those has led to like tiny little steps that everyone is taking.
But there were already a lot of e-commerce platform already existing, right? Why did you feel the need to start another one? And did you think that, okay, there were a lot of competitors and that ever stopped you?
Of course, the e-commerce marketplaces and all e-commerce platforms, I feel like nowadays are very saturated. We've gone fully digital in this world.
Right.
So everything is actually available at your fingertips. But I feel like the community aspect of it was almost always forgotten because of this e-commerce. So our idea was to build a platform where commerce and community actually come together and actually work towards a certain cause rather than being so overwhelming for someone that they're able to only see products, see reviews, and then that's what should dictate their purchase. So I think with Yogini, the idea was, of course, it's threatening to see that there are so many big names already in the market.
Yeah.
But at our core, the idea was that we want to build a community. We actually want to be able to make change, make an impact. So I think that was a big part of it.
Understood. And do you think that at times, when the market is so competitive and there are a lot more players coming in, the kind of approach that you're going ahead with is exactly right? Or do you actually change the approach a lot of times, seeing where the customers are coming from and where the customers are going?
I think our main idea is to keep the reason why Yogini started at the heart of things. Of course, what we do with it might change over time, seeing the market landscape, or if anything changes, or if we see more opportunities or threats in the market, for instance. But I think at the core, Yogini is for women wellness, and at the heart of it, we're actually a community more than trying to sell anything. It's more like we're selling a feeling. So I think that stays at the core of the decisions that we make.
Right. And I think affordability and financial freedom plays a lot more role in women wellness also. How are you tackling onto that? How do you think that the affordability parts comes in specifically in women wellness?
I think that's a big stigma actually, because wellness does not have to be expensive. You do not need to have like a Pilates membership to be able to be healthy. So many people do 10K steps outside. So I feel like a big part of it is also realizing, I do understand that a country like India is so different. Every 500 kilometers is different from the other. So I think the idea behind it would be to adapt to those changes and adapt to what is available to you. Of course, accessibility is a big issue in a country like India because there are so many variations across. But I do think there is something for everyone. Even if it's 10 seconds of silence or 10 seconds of meditation that can make you feel a little better, if that works for you, I think you can do that.
Thank you for joining us. So, I was reading about your journey, about how you started off with all the initiatives that you have done with. So, my first question want to bring out that what are the core values that you actually related with, because I feel to start such company or to start such an initiative actually requires a lot of values that needs to be inbuilt with you since the early on childhood. So, what were those values and why did you specifically choose women wellness? And did you ever feel that, okay, you were too young to start this with?
For sure, I hear that all the time. I think so. I remember I was actually pitching to a very established wellness brand, and this 40, 50-year-old guy said to me that, oh, like, bache, this is not the time, like, enjoy your 20s. So, of course, things like that are very disheartening because it's like, I have started, I am trying to pitch to you. So, I feel like, especially in a country like India, that informality and that age factor really does come in. But I am very excited I started. I'm very glad I started. And I think by the end of it, it also comes down to your support system. So, like, all my friends are there, my family is there. So, I think that makes a huge difference as well to give that little push when you're feeling underconfident or feeling like nothing's going right.
And do you think, I feel like the women's wellness industry is still largely male dominated? You being a female entrepreneur understand the needs of women better, right? How has that actually helped you out?
So, I think definitely, I completely agree with you. I think there's such an invisible bias. So I read a book called Invisible Woman by Caroline Perez, and it just shows that since centuries, even all the data we have is so male focused that it will always impact decisions unless like you start from scratch, right? So I think, of course, as a woman, it gives me that little edge over them, that it gives me an understanding of what a woman actually needs, going beyond a product as well. So it helps me be able to actually connect with them on an emotional level or, over like talking, email. It's obviously different, right? So I think it gives that little safe circle, like a Yogini circle, like we talk about. So I think that's very important. And that does give an edge that we're able to connect with our audience much better. And that will hopefully help in the long run.
In the coming years, if I ask you, what is that one thing which you feel every woman or one change that you will see every woman must have in their life? What is that one change you feel should be there?
I think that change should be that women ask for what they want. I think that is the biggest change that is needed now. I see so much progress with it already, especially in a country like India. If you see tier one cities, people are more vocal about their needs. And I think when we talk about things like rest, like we spoke about, I think people need to understand and women need to actually speak up about those things.
Uh, but do you think, specifically with all the hustle culture and, the large gap between men and women pay actually gives women that right kind of opportunity to rest?
I feel like that's what the opportunity to rest shouldn't be a question.
Hmm.
It should be a right for me. I feel like wellness and self care and rest in my head is a right. Like, if men are being able to rest, women should be able to. I'm not saying men should not rest,
Yeah.
actually. I'm saying that if men are getting it, women should too. It
Yeah.
should be a very, like, people are allowed
Yeah.
to rest in general.
I mean,
you know what I
the
mean?
feminist side of
Yeah,
being,
like,
yeah.
I feel like that sense of equality needs to be there. Like, even now, if you see, there are changes in labor laws, right?
Hmm.
But by the end of it, if your managers at work
Hmm.
are not adapting that,
Hmm.
you will not be able to.
Right.
So I think these labor laws were, the reform was genuinely needed. But I think companies need to be able to adapt it and actually give those benefits out so people are able to have that work-life balance that we all in corporate culture so happily speak about.
Okay, so talking about this, Karnataka government has now announced, menstrual leaves for women. But do you think this is also going to impact employers a lot, that they're going to actually not hire a lot more women, thinking that okay, they are going to go on off because it's mandatory by the government? Do you think that's going to actually impact the women in work negatively?
I think it's a very double-edged sword. Like, of course, I feel like as women, it's a win. But of course, what you said is something that we can't ignore. So I feel like there needs to be more reform supporting this, ensuring that this is not an issue for women. Because, especially in corporate culture, I feel like maternity leaves took the longest to actually be
Yeah.
applicable, right? And now menstrual leaves, everyone's been talking about it for years, and it took so long to actually happen. So I do think reform needs to happen and it's much needed. All of these reforms are contributing so much. I feel like it's such a great step towards it. But employers need to be more mindful. Of course, there are already laws that say a certain section of employees need to be women in an office or in a public listed company, for example. So I think overall, I think it's a win.
Okay. And how do you think you are shaping these reforms? So, when we talk about your organization specifically, how do you think it's more women inclined, or it is actually more working more towards the employee wellness, also specifically the women's?
So, in terms of employee wellness, we do have like fixed working hours. We believe in mental health days if someone is feeling overwhelmed at work. As a startup, of course, there are days a lot of us feel overwhelmed. So, I think that's a big part of it. All our employees right now at Yokini, we are a team of 5 and we're all women. So, I think that is great. And I do think a big part of it is being able to find that balance. For me personally, also, I would say initially I was struggling to find that work life balance, especially because as a startup, there was so much happening. There are new things every day.
Right.
Being a marketplace, there are 15 brands to coordinate with, there's writers to coordinate with. We're doing the Saheli and Geo session. So it did get overwhelming. And I think that's when I realized that the change I want to bring or the impact that I want to have, I can't give with an empty cup. So I think that was a big part of why we started like having like mental health days and having little breaks in between.
Right. And I think with that, you're also managing at your dad's
Yes.
organization, right? How does rest become an important part of you, or how do you actually define rest?
So for me, I think my favorite ritual is I take a hot shower before bed. I have my favorite playlist on. I put my phone on DND and I'm just in like my own thoughts and in my moments. I journal a lot. I think that has really helped me. I only started about like 3 months back, but I think it really helped me put my mind to ease and actually be able to have it all out before I go to sleep.
Right. Understood. And how do you think, from 5 years from now, right? Moving forward, how will women's wellness be seen? And what is Yogini's or your bigger impact to this industry?
So, in general, from 5 years from now, I want a woman, if they want to feel a sense of belonging or a sense of wellness, they open Yogini, whether they're at 16 or 16. I think in the long run, this Yogini contributes to the wellness industry, showing that wellness is a holistic space. That wellness doesn't have to mean going to the gym, or wellness doesn't have to mean 8 hours of sleep. It's actually a very well rounded approach that you need to take on having a balanced life. So I do think Yogini contributes to that in some ways already, and we do hope to make our impact bigger. If we're talking about the industry, I do think the industry is set to have exponential growth over the next few years. There's so many cool, amazing small brands coming up in India itself that have little solutions to women related problems, or are having like fun ways, little groups that do fun descriptions of female problems. Well, they work with NGOs. So I think there's a lot happening in the women wellness space, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Okay. But can you talk in general about the industry where it's forming to? Because probably not naming the brands, but defining the categories. Can you do that?
Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned a lot of brands coming in. What are the categories do you think which are coming in and changing the women wellness landscape? And how are they actually going to help Yogini achieve what it wants to achieve?
I think one of my favorite things that has come up recently is seed cycling. So it's different seeds for every menstrual phase of your cycle. So I think that is one of my favorite products that has come up, and a lot of brands are doing them. A lot of brands are having like fun ways and actually informative sessions on explaining how these seeds help.
Okay.
So I think in the nutrition category, especially with someone who loves Indian food, I think there are a lot of fun things coming up where, for example, now you'll see protein is not seen as a
Right.
stigma. So I think there are a lot of things in the foods and nutrition space that are coming along that I'm very excited about.
Okay. So I'll come to my last segment with this, which is called the rapid fire round. So, like you mentioned, right, that with startup it gets overwhelming a lot of time. Do you think burnout in India is specifically glamorized a lot, and specifically in the startup ecosystem?
Definitely. I feel like if I take an example of startup culture, I think it's so glamorized to wake up at 5 o'clock, have like 20 hours in your day and things like that. And of course, it gets really overwhelming. I have personally gone through it while trying to launch that. I can squeeze everything into like my day and try to do everything by myself. I think a big part of it is trying to want to micromanage everything and being like, oh, I only slept 4 hours and I got so much done during my day. So I think people often use it as like a proud statement, or like, oh my God, this is so amazing of me. So it just shows how burnout culture is glamorized. I think in the wellness industry, a lot of like founders are trying to move away from that space. For me, I think my point when I decided that this isn't working for me was when I realized that I'm not enjoying the process anymore. It's like I'm going through a to-do list because I have to.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big part of when I shifted my take and my behavior towards how I'm launching yoga.
Right. And do you think people actually only relate productivity to the work that they're doing and not exactly the wellness or the rest? I mean, rest is also a form of productivity, but people generally do not associate with that. How do you think that's building up and changing in India?
For sure. I think you're absolutely right. People associate their productive time as how many things they got done from their to-do list. And I do see little bit changes in people around me, for example, not seeing that, okay, I took a nap, it's not the end of the world. So I do see a little bit change to it. I do think in terms of this, we have a long, long way to go. I would oftentimes, like if I've come back from a long day at work and I still have stuff to do and I end up taking like a 40-minute nap, I would be like, oh my God, I wasted time. I should have just worked. But then if I did that work, what I did in 1 hour would have taken me 3 hours because my mind was overburdened. So I do think, of course, it's completely important, and we all need to realize that it's important, but I do think we have a long way to go before we start implementing it in our lives.
Right. Okay. Uh, I think that brings to a fun section now. Probably I'll be throwing a few habits that people generally follow, and you have to rate it for me, right?
Okay, great.
Let's take it from the range of 1 to 5. So, how do you treat sleeping 5 hours a night?
1 on 5. That's survival. That's not you being rested.
Okay. Skipping meals because you're busy.
0.
Okay. How do you think these meditation apps are coming across and people actually following the
I would
meditation app?
say a 4 on 5. I think it's a great step towards it. But I think there's a lot of inner work that goes into meditation that is oftentimes ignored because you still have a phone, you're looking at the notifications in the meditation app. But I do still think it's a great step to get into it.
Right. Uh, Gym anxiety or, feeling conscious at gym.
3 on 5. I think it's so normal. I'm someone who still at times, if I'm doing a new exercise, have that gym anxiety. But I think realizing the community aspect of it and collective step of it, that I always tell myself that, oh, am I looking at anyone in the gym? I'm not. Am I judging anyone at the gym? I'm not. So it's probably everyone else around me as well.
Okay. And how do you think therapy stigma is coming around?
Therapy stigma is getting better. I feel like there's a long, long, long way to go. But I think 0 on 5. Like, we need to get over that stigma ASAP.
Okay. And how do you think actually so a little bit a detailed question around therapy. How do you think that stigma can be broken up as well? And how can people actually start considering their mental health as a very important factor as well?
I think with our generation, definitely we're much more aware as well as vocal about our
Right.
feelings. Like with our parents' generation, they probably realized what was happening, but there were no specific terms to label it.
Right.
And I think now, even though we realize those feelings, we still talk about it and we're able to find realistic solutions to it as well. So I think it's definitely gotten better. That's why I say, like, talking about it is the best solution that you have to things. So I'm really pro therapy, and I think India has made a vast, vast change into how it sees therapy nowadays.
Perfect. Okay, so let's do a quick rapid fire now. What is wellness for you?
Consistency.
Okay. One book which you feel every woman should read.
I think it would be Invisible Woman by Caroline Perez.
Okay. One habit you never skip.
8 hours of sleep.
Okay. One stereotype about women which you hate.
That women actually have to earn their rest.
Okay. One message that you would like to give every woman out there.
That wellness is really, really not expensive. It's not a luxury. It's accessible. It's for everyone.
You mentioned that you started pretty young, right? To bring that entrepreneurial mindset at such a young age, right? Uh, is it because you've seen that growing up that you come from an entrepreneurial background yourself, or is it because you grow up in a certain way? How do you build that entrepreneurial mindset generally?
I think a big part of it is I've obviously seen my dad do it from a young age. And I think it's also, I enjoy the different aspects that come with it. I think I am honestly a very type A person. I'm a control freak. So having that little control over everything that's happening, knowing everything that's happening was actually really fun for me instead of being overwhelming. It is overwhelming on a few days, but I actually really enjoy the process.
Okay. And why did you specific? I mean, I get the gist that you started working out for women wages, but wellness industry is huge in India. But there's nothing specific for women wellness. How did that idea actually stem from? How did that progress into Yoganina?
So for me, it was coming back and realizing that I do want to get into wellness. I want to become healthier. What would you do? You'd either open Google, ChatGPT, or Instagram, right? And I feel like there's such a plethora of information available on all three platforms, some matching, some not matching with each other. But there is just so much happening in the wellness industry itself that it was so overwhelming for me to actually even start. Like, I would see it, I would be like, okay, chalo, tomorrow I'll start, Monday I'll start. So I think that was a big part of it, that I didn't realize what was authentic, what was not. Like, you could see the most bizarre ideas on ChatGPT by the end of it, right? So I think a big part of it was making a one-stop all so that anyone who has an issue can actually see verified information, verified solutions, and verified products. So I feel like the transparency part of wellness is still missing in the industry, and we're trying to work towards that.
Right. And I think that will inspire a lot of women to start taking their wellness a lot more serious. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for taking out time and speaking about such an important issue. I think a lot of women will get inspired to and start taking the steps which are actually required in their wellness journey.
Thank you so much for having me. I really loved it. And I really do hope that women wellness is a growing industry in India and we all get to be a part of it.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.